Hello, everybody. My name is Sammy. I am the Events and Education Coordinator here at Goosefoot. So, for those of you that don't know, Goosefoot is a nonprofit on South Whidbey Island, Washington, that does, frankly, a lot of things. But that includes building community, preserving great places, helping out our local businesses. So, on that note, one of our most requested workshops is on Zoom. As many of you know, Zoom has definitely emerged as the most popular way for folks to meet during these crazy times that we live in now. Obviously, there are a lot of alternatives to video chatting. If you have any sort of Apple product, FaceTime is a good example. There's Skype, which has been around for a long time. You can also meet video wise on Google or through Facebook. There's really a number of options. But you can't get around the fact that Zoom has been the most popular one to emerge. So, on that note, a lot of you folks have been asking what is the best way to use Zoom for yourself? It's great for business meetings. It's really good just for social calls. You can have meetings with family or friends that you aren't able to see right now. You can meet with church groups or craft. I meet with a craft group every other Friday evening through the Snow Isle Libraries. If you haven't, you should check out their programs. They're really amazing. And they also use Zoom. So there's really no limit to what sort of social, professional meetings you can have through Zoom. So let's go over that pretty quickly. As always with our classes, this will be uploaded on YouTube, so please feel free to ask any questions at any time. Even after this video goes live on YouTube itself, you folks are more than likely to go ahead and put questions down in the comments, and I will get to them if I am able. Right now, we are also offering a one-on-one chance to get some one-on-one help with me, depending on watch one of the videos on our YouTube. Previous classes include social media, marketing, selling online, all sorts of topics, and I would be more than happy to meet one-on-one with you to help in whatever way I can. But on that note, today we're talking about Zoom. So, Zoom is an interesting thing. I know some of you already have Zoom accounts, some of you do not yet have Zoom accounts. Signing up for Zoom is completely free. You can go ahead and go to zoom.us, and right in the top right corner there will be a sign up it's free button if you're not already logged in. You can go ahead and click on that and sign up your account. It's very easy and it walks you through step by step. I again wanted to specify that it is absolutely free to set up an account. Here in a bit, we are going to be talking about the options between free versus paid, but you can do a whole lot of things on the free version. So please go ahead and give that a look. Nothing breaks my heart more than folks that are already struggling paying for something that they don't need. So, on that note, we'll talk about the things you get in a free version. So, with free Zoom, it used to be a smaller number, but they've expanded it due to how unbelievably popular it has been during quarantine. But with a free account, you can have up to 100 participants in a single meeting. Now, this does mean individual devices that are logged in. I have been in plenty of meetings where a couple or a family are all gathered around one camera, one computer or tablet or laptop or whatever you're using. That only, even if there's 5 people on screen in that shot, that counts as one user. It only counts as multiple if everybody's on their own devices. So, like, for example, today, I know a couple of you, there's a husband and wife that are signed up for this, and you're on different devices in different rooms. That does count as 2, even though, you're together and you're in the same house, you are logged in on different devices. But you can have up to 100, which, at least around here, that's a lot of people, and I've never been in a meeting with more than about 20 or so. So 100 will serve most of you just fine. If you're having a group meeting with multiple people on the call, you can have up to 40 minutes free. After that, you are going to have to log out. If you need more time for the meeting, you will have to start a new meeting, have someone else start it, whatever, but it is limited to 40 minutes. The exception to that is if you're having a one-on-one meeting. So if you're a grandparent who is on a call with their kids or their grandkids, and it's only you talking to people on one other device, that is unlimited. You guys can talk, you can meet, you can socialize as much as you want without ever having to pay a dime, and as long as you need, as long as it is between, one-on-one. So that's pretty useful, and honestly, the vast majority of you, that is going to be sufficient. But on that note, there are paid options that open up some more windows for you. So the paid options range really steeply from about $150 a year to over $1,000, and they all come with different levels. For those of you that need the paid option, the $150, the first, pro level is going to be pretty much exactly what you need. So the $150 paid version includes 100 participants, again, like the free one. It can include the higher tiered ones, go all the way up to 250 and then 500, I think. And there are options to get even bigger groups. I don't know what sort of scenario you would ever need, other than, say, some of the library's programs, where you would ever need anything that large. But there are different levels if you do need them. You get unlimited time no matter what the meeting is. So if you're meeting with a group or one-on-one, they're all unlimited time. I think technically it says 24 hours, but I can't imagine why you would ever be on a call for a solid 24 hours. But it's also purported to be unlimited, so you don't have any limitations. If your meeting lasts 20 minutes versus it lasts 3 hours, it's all the same to Zoom. Another nice thing is that you can stream it to social media. This could be really helpful for, say, church services or group meetings when everybody doesn't have a Zoom account. You can stream the meeting to another program like Facebook, for example, so that those that don't have a Zoom account could chime in on Facebook. The trick with that is they can't be on screen. They can watch the video, but they can't turn their video and audio on and participate. And if they type in Facebook, it'll only turn up on the Facebook version of the stream. It won't turn up in the original Zoom call. So if you ever come down to needing that for any reason, you're probably going to need to have somebody who has the technical know-how, the setup, to be able to look at both at the same time so that they can read any comments from Facebook or another social media stream so that those people can be included in the regular Zoom meeting. The most important thing to remember with paid accounts is if there is a group meeting, only one person needs to have the paid account. Only the host needs to have the paid account to enjoy these benefits. So if you have a service club or a church group or a neighborhood party or a family reunion, you don't need to have every single person involved in that. They don't all have to pay $150 each. You really only need the person who is hosting the meeting. And the nice thing is as well, you can have the host be the technical host. They're the ones that opened up the meeting and sent out the invites, but they don't necessarily have to be the host in a traditional sense. So for example, Goosefoot, we have a really big meeting coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be the host of that meeting because I'll be running the technical side of things. I'll be running breakout rooms, things like that, which I will talk about in Zoom 201. But I'm not really contributing to the meeting. I am not part of this group that they're meeting with. They have a facilitator picked out, and it is not me. So I get to sit there quietly with my camera off, my mic off, and I'm just doing the technical stuff. But I will be set up as the host. Nobody else in the group needs a paid account. So if you want to be the person in your group and you think you need it, you're going to use it frequently enough for long enough with big enough groups, go ahead and get that paid account. But for people that are just going to be meeting with you, they can just use the free account. So that saves a lot of money in the overall scheme of things. So, and then also the other difference between free and paid account is recordings. So you can always record a Zoom meeting. The free account, it records locally. So what that means is it saves to your computer. That makes it really easy to edit and do other things with it. Recordings can really come in handy if you need to get notes from the meeting later, so you have somebody transcribe it after the fact so that everybody can stay engaged and involved in the meeting without having to worry about somebody only paying attention and taking minutes. Those minutes can be taken later with the help of that recording. Also, it can be great if you're any sort of public-facing entity like a local government. The meeting can be recorded, and then you can put that up on your website where people can watch it and engage instead of just putting up the typed minutes that you usually put up. So that is why recording is important. It also might just be nice, again, if you're doing a more social call, to be able to reflect back on those videos later when you maybe aren't able to talk to those people as frequently. As I was saying, free, you can only save it locally, so it saves to your computer. The tricky thing with that is that video files are very big. They take up a lot of space. So if you primarily use Zoom on a tablet or a phone or even a laptop and you're pretty much at the max of your memory, you're not actually going to be able to save it to your computer because there's just nowhere to put it. And the longer your video, the more space it takes up. That's not a problem for me. My statistics, I have about 250 gigs of space on my computer because I have an absurd rig set up at home. But if you have any sort of memory limitations on your device, saving it might be kind of tricky. So the option with the paid account is you can save it locally, but you can also save it to the cloud. So there's a cloud you can log in on your Zoom account. You can get access to it. You can send people links to it up in that file, up in the internet, so that it is not taking up space on your device specifically. So that is absolutely an option. It is something that is helpful with the paid account to have that cloud recording, especially if you're going to send it to somebody else to do something with. Video files largely are far too big to email, so you usually have to find some sort of workaround. The cloud recording will help you have that workaround. So that's really the big differences between the free and paid account. There's so many little tweaks. There's some additional offers, some tools, you can get larger numbers. You can have other tools like webinars. These are all additional things. So if you're curious, you can go to the Zoom website and click on the pricings and plan tab, and that'll give you the full breakdown. My experience, the Zoom folks are very helpful as well. They might be a little slow to respond just because, again, they've ended up being the most popular tool during this quarantine. So they've had a lot of folks message them, but when I message them about something else, I got a reply within 24 hours. So don't be afraid to reach out to them and ask them questions of how you should do stuff, what works best for you, explain your situation and get their advice. They are absolutely there to help you. So that's the big difference between free versus paid accounts. Next up, we're going to talk about organizing a meeting. So organizing a meeting is incredibly easy. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this full screen video so that I can actually show you the Zoom interface. So I'm going to end this meeting. And so here is the interface for Zoom when you first open it up. You really do need to download Zoom. There are a few ways to do it via the internet. You can get the links, but if you click on any link to join a meeting, it will prompt you to download Zoom. So go ahead and do that. You can download it for computers, tablets, mobile phones. I am not aware of any device that can't handle Zoom, but you really need to download it. And then this is what that client will look like on your computer. So obviously, the two biggest ways to start a meeting is, first off, this first button here that just says New Meeting. If you click it, it'll go ahead and open up a meeting immediately like I was showing you guys earlier. I'm going to click End there. The other way to do it in advance is to use the Schedule option. So if you know you're going to be meeting farther down the line, but you want to get people the link to it in advance, then you're going to click Schedule Meeting. At this point, you can name it whatever you need. You can set the date, time, duration, Duration can be an estimate. I always overestimate, and it's purely just to give people an idea of how long this is going to take. Zoom will not cut you off if you have a paid account if you go over the time. So if you set this at an hour and a half and your meeting ends up taking 2 hours, Zoom isn't going to cut you off, but people might be annoyed because they were expecting an hour and a half meeting. So I always overestimate on my time. You could also set it up as recurring if you're going to do this sort of thing regularly. If you set it up recurring, you can set up, once you get into the calendar options, you can set up how often it's going to recur. Meeting ID is, it pretty much automatically generates it. It's what the meeting is, but you can also set it up to your personal ID so that it's always tied to your number. You can have a password, or you can turn the password off. I would recommend having the password on just because it helps with security so that folks can't get into your meeting whenever. You can set up to turn on the video for hosts and participants in advance, or have them come in with the camera turned off and turn it on once they get in. You can let people join with a variety of audio. This is really important because not everybody always has a great signal. Some folks just don't have a great internet signal at their house, so allowing people to call in by phone instead is a great alternative. Obviously, they can't see everything on screen, so if you're showing anything on screen like I am now, you are going to have to be very descriptive of what you're talking about, but it absolutely gives you an option to let people call in. I see no harm in letting both telephone and computer be an option. You can then hook it up to a couple of different calendar systems like Outlook, Google Calendar, or some other calendars as well, so that it'll automatically send it out as a calendar invitation, and it will automatically put it on your calendar as well. So that's how you organize a meeting. Once you have it scheduled, or again, if you open up a new meeting and then you go to invite, or if you're a bigger screen, you might have to go into participants and then invite. And this will give you can either set up contacts in advance of people that you think you're regularly going to be meeting with, or you can go ahead and connect to one of your email accounts, or even more likely, what I usually do is I actually come down here to the bottom and I either copy the invitation link or I copy the entire invite, and then I will paste that into an email later. And if you copy the invitation, I'm going to post it here in chat on the left side so you can see what that looks like. But basically, it's got the link to invite. The meeting code is already, the password is already embedded in the link, so nobody has to type it in when they join. Or it gives them the meeting ID and the passcode if they want to just open their Zoom client and enter the meeting that way without ever clicking the link. I don't know why anyone would do that. That's a lot more work, but if you wanted to, it's there. And then there's also phone numbers if folks want to phone in instead of clicking on to view it by camera. So that is easy, both of those options. That is usually what I do, just because connecting programs like this to my email tends to be a headache. So I tend to just skip it entirely and just copy it and then go make a new email in my own account. So that's how you organize a meeting. Joining a meeting is even easier. So to join a meeting, all you have to do is click on the link that somebody sent you. Or, as I showed you earlier, there's also the meeting code, the meeting ID, and the password that you can paste in. So if you hit join, you can paste in the meeting ID and then your name. It might prompt you for the password once you go ahead and go to join. So that's the easiest way to join a meeting that somebody else has set up, is just click on the link that they email you. So once you're in a meeting, let me show you some of the Zoom systems. I don't know why this opens at a different size every single time. But as you probably have known, if you've spent any amount of time in a Zoom meeting, there are a lot of little controls everywhere on the screen. These are just security codes that let you know everything's moving fine. You can enter full screen so that you don't get the white bars or the bar on the bottom of your screen, or you can exit it, make it whatever size you need it to be. Down here, you've got the audio options. I've got myself muted because I'm actually recording this on an entirely different program, so I don't need Zoom audio. But if I wanted to unmute, all I need to do is click that there, and then Zoom is picking up my mic as well. You can see by the way the little green light on the mic is jumping. I'm going to go ahead again and mute because I have a different program using my mic. If for whatever reason you have multiple mics, if you click that little arrow right next to the mic icon, you'll get your options here. Do not panic. I probably have far more mics and speaker options than any of you do. You probably see like one or two options, especially if you're using a tablet or a phone or a laptop. Those usually have built-in mics and speakers, so that'll probably just default to that. I'm just a crazy person who has a lot of different systems, so I have a number of mics to choose from. My webcam has a built-in mic. I actually use a really nice USB mic sitting here on my desktop, so that's the one I actually have selected. I have a VR headset right over here, and I have a few different programs that can also manage my mic. So as you can see, I have choices to choose from. You probably will only have one, maybe two. I actually have to get into these settings pretty regularly because even though my system default is my USB mic, and that's the one I am consistently using, for some reason my computer very frequently defaults to trying to use my VR headset mic, and then I have to go in and say, no, use this mic, because otherwise I will sound very far away. Same thing with speakers. If you're having trouble hearing people, it might not be coming out of your speakers. You might have gotten paired with a Bluetooth device that's in a different room or somewhere else farther away from you. There might be an issue there. So go ahead and make sure you're on the right speakers and microphone if you're having any sort of issue. If you've checked and made sure the right ones are selected and you're still having issues, you can go ahead and click this test microphone. There is a tone that it'll play to make sure you can hear from the right speakers, or if not, you can fiddle with your speaker options, and then you can tell it, yes, I hear that, or no. And then same thing with the mic. You can test your mic. You can see that line that or no. And then same thing with the mic. You can test your mic. You can see, and it replays the sound back to you so you can hear how you sound to others. So if somebody is saying you are overblown or you're too loud or you're too quiet, you can play with these systems to make sure they're functional. And again, that is just next to the mic, and it's test speaker and microphone. So super easy, nice and easy to use. Next up, obviously, is the camera. Click on the button and you turn your camera off. Click it back on and you turn it back on. Super simple. This little caret next to it will give you more options again. As you can see, I have a lot less camera options than I do speaker or mic. So this menu is probably closer to what you're seeing yourself. It might even only have one option. You can also choose virtual backgrounds. So these are just silly little things. Zoom sort of goes in and figures out the outline of where you exist and edits everything else in the room out. So it's a little goofy, as you can see. It kind of picks up things behind me, especially if I move a lot, if the lighting is bad in my room. I don't have super flat, even lighting, especially because all of my light comes from the window next to me. So that can make it look kind of goofy. If it's purely something for fun, so don't worry too much if it doesn't look perfect. But if you really want it to look better, I would recommend getting a green screen and making sure you have really good direct lighting so that everything is smooth and easy, and it's easier for Zoom to figure out where you end and your background begins. I talk more about the green screens and these virtual backgrounds in the other video, so in the Zoom 201. So go ahead and check that out if you have any questions about that. But I'm going to go ahead and turn that off because I don't need it. So those two, mute and stop video, are the ones you're going to use the most frequently. I'm going to give you guys the nicest tip Zoom has. If you don't like clicking around on your screen a lot, especially if you have like a tablet or something and tapping around on the screen is just a pain in your butt. Easy way to get around that is instead of clicking around, if you want to mute yourself, which I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the class, and I mentioned this a couple of other times in other classes, but it is just standard protocol, normal courtesy for everybody else in the meeting that if you are not immediately speaking, you should mute yourself. We all live hectic lives. A lot of us are at home with kids and pets and other family members. You might be doing laundry in the background. So there's a lot of weird background noise that can get picked up by your mic when you're in a meeting. And if you're not the one speaking, it can be very distracting. Additionally, a lot of folks might not have the best systems, and your mic can end up picking up your speakers as well. So if somebody else is talking on the screen and you have your mic live, your mic might be picking up their voice through your speakers, and it starts this really unpleasant echo or a feedback loop that it just ends up screeching, and it's really unpleasant to listen to. So it's very common courtesy to have a mic turned off, muted when you are not talking, and then unmute yourself when you want to talk. But like I said, clicking around on the screen can kind of be a pain in the butt. So if you have yourself muted and then you just hold, if you're on a computer with a keyboard, if you just hold the space bar, you can see I'm temporarily unmuted. And so the entire time I have the space bar held down, I can talk and my mic is actually picking me up. But as soon as I hold it down again, you can see in the bottom left corner, I am muted again. So nice, easy, simple. It's a great workaround if you just occasionally chime in and you're not talking for as long as I am talking at you. Easy to mute yourself and just to be common courtesy to everybody, and unmute yourself whenever you need to talk. So next up is the security system. You can go ahead and lock a meeting once everybody is in. If it's something really private and you don't want anybody to maybe be able to wander in. Locking a meeting could be tricky though if anybody gets kicked out of the meeting because their signal, their internet strength is weak, and then they can't get back in because you've locked the meeting. But it is there if you need it. You can also enable, or if you click on that, you can disable the meeting room or the waiting room. So that means when people click on the link to join your meeting, they'll immediately come into the meeting. With meeting room enabled, you have to physically choose to let people into your meeting. Zoom has by default enabled that. The downsides to being the most popular ones during quarantine was that there was a lot of hacking going on, unpleasant people kind of bursting into meetings and being really disruptive. So that is why that is enabled. I would recommend having it enabled, but if you have problems with it, maybe you're not great at noticing when people need to be let into the room, you can go ahead and disable that if you need to. And then also you can allow participants to share the screen, chat, rename themselves, or unmute themselves. You can also take any of these abilities away just by clicking on them and making sure there's not a check next to it. You only see these options if you are the host. If you are participating in someone else's Zoom meeting, these options will not be there, so don't bother looking for them. This bar will be a little different if you are just a participant rather than the host. It will have less of these options, but it won't have anything new. So that is why I'm going through this as the host in this meeting. So participants just gives you a list of everyone who is in the meeting right now. As you can see, I'm the only person here. But if there were other people in this meeting, people would be on that list. I could then very easily click on them. I could mute them. I could kick them from the meeting. I could ban them if I need to. I could unmute them. I could ask them to turn their camera on. So there's a lot of options in here when you're not the only one in the room. You also have the invite button, which is right here. You can also immediately mute everybody. If somebody is not muting themselves and is being really disruptive, but you don't know who it is, you can just mute everybody and have people unmute themselves one by one as needed. You can also ask everybody to unmute. You can mute people as they come in so they're not disruptive if they're late. You can see you can play sounds when somebody joins or they leave if it's really important for you to know what's happening. So yeah, there's a lot of fun options there in participants. You can also click on somebody and make them the host or make them a co-host. So a lot of great options. The chat is a text chat. If you're not full screen like I am, text chat would actually turn up like in the sidebar here. People can type whatever they want. They can also send private messages so that people, if other people were in this meeting, not just me, everybody would show up in this list. So I could send a private message to somebody. It would only show up to them. It doesn't even tell other people that you sent a private message. So, if you remember back to the days of in school when you wrote and passed notes to your friends in class, picture that, except the ability for the teacher not to know that you're doing it. It's a great way to just, if you're subtly reminding somebody of something or correcting them and you don't want to draw the attention of everybody in the meeting, that's absolutely a great way to do it. You can also download the chat file. So if you had a lot of really good text chat going on during the meeting, or there were some very important links, if you click this 3 dots at the bottom right corner of the text panel, you've got Save Chat. So you can download it into a text file that you can save on your system as needed. So I use chat pretty regularly in my meetings, and we will go into some more specific higher level things you can do with chat in the Zoom 201 class as well. So tune into that. Share screen is great. It lets you share important documents, information, things like that during a meeting. It's probably the third most clicked button after unmute and camera. So if you click on share screen, it usually pops up like this. It gives you options. These can be very confusing to people, so I'm going to go through them. My system does have 2 monitors. That is why screen 1 and screen 2 are an option. Most of you probably only have 1 screen, so only screen 1 will show up as an option. If you click on that screen, it will show everybody everything that is on that screen, for good or ill. So be careful with that, but it is also the easiest option. It's the first option, and it's great if you are switching between lots of things at the same time. So if you are showing people a PDF and then also switching to a website and showing them something in a program, it's just easiest to do screen 1 rather than closing the share screen and restarting the share screen with each new program. It's the fastest way to cut through everything. Whiteboard is a lot of fun. It is what the name suggests. You get to draw on a whiteboard. In fact, everybody participating in the meeting can draw on the whiteboard. So this is a great way to collaborate in business meetings or just to have fun with the kids if you're doing a more social meeting. You guys can draw pictures together. Or you can play Pictionary or lots of fun things. Excuse me, I needed water. The iPhone or iPad can be a little tricky, but it lets you connect to another device as well and share from that instead if you wanted to. You have to have those paired in advance, so that can be much of a headache. I don't use that very often, frankly, because I don't have iPhones or iPads, but if you're tech savvy enough to have those set up, go for it. Otherwise, I would recommend sticking with whatever's on the device you're actually using for these meetings. The next option, obviously, is to show off a program that you already have open on your system. So as you can see, I have a couple of internet browsers open, and I have a Word doc. If I opened up a PDF, that would be on this option, or a JPEG file. Anything you already have open on your system pops up in these options. You can select whatever one you want to do and then click share. If you are sharing a video, maybe you're watching a movie together, it is very important to make sure you are sharing the computer sound. If you do not click that button, nobody is going to be able to hear the audio from the thing you are sharing. So make sure you click that. If you don't have something open yet that you wanted to share and you don't feel like sharing your whole screen while you go hunting for it, you can also always click files and go searching through it this way. So absolutely an option. You can also choose just a portion of the screen, again, if you don't want to share off everything, or if you have a second camera. Second cameras are great if you're doing maybe something kind of crafty, because then you can have one camera for your face like I do for this meeting, and then you could have another camera over here that's looking down at your hands while you're doing something. So a lot of fun options. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. Share is very important. I use it a lot. There's that record button I was talking about. It'll record everything on screen for Zoom. So it'll include you, everybody who is visible in the meeting, anything you share on screen. It will all record as long as you click that record button, and then to end the recording, you will click it again. It will share somewhere in your system. There are settings you can choose where to save that to. I talk about that in the Zoom 201 class, so I won't get into it here. But I am a big fan of recording meetings when I need to. I don't record over half of the meetings I'm in, but it's a really nice tool for when you need it. For example, we've been teaching business workshops for a few years now. It is only this year, thanks to the fact that we've had to do these business workshops over video chat, that we've been able to create a backlog and upload them to our YouTube channel so people could watch them and enjoy them at any time. So, subtle plug. If you're interested in any sort of business help, resources, information, if you want to know about our past classes, we have a pretty decent backlog of those sitting on our YouTube channel right now. So if you just go to youtube.com and search Goosefoot Community Fund, or if you are watching this on YouTube, go ahead and click on our icon and you'll open up the channel and see all of the other videos that are there. So, end of plug for that. Breakout rooms are a very tricky thing. I have this on the list for Zoom 201. So if you're interested in breakout rooms, please go watch that. It's a little higher level than I wanted to get into for this class. And then reactions are just fun little things. If you're muted, if you're not on camera actively participating in the meeting, you can let the presenter know you're still engaged by clicking this, and you get clap or thumbs up. So fun little tricks. And then again, final mute button. When you're finished with your meeting, all you have to do is click end. If you are attending, not hosting, it will say leave the meeting instead. So you can click leave instead of end. And then I have it set up to definitely tell me, like, are you sure you want to leave? Are you sure you want it to end? And yes, I do. So I'm going to click that. There are a few other settings in here as well. You can see your meetings list, any upcoming meetings you have scheduled. You can also see past recordings of ones. So I could very easily pull up our old classes in my system as I need to. I can set up contacts if I want to quickly contact people. I want to make sure they're in here. So I can do that right here in contacts. I can also have chats with people outside of meetings. So this is nice, easy, simple. Hopefully this all makes sense. There are a lot of settings up here that you can fiddle with. There are even more settings on the website as well. And again, like I said, I will have those covered in the next class for Zoom 201. That is my presentation for today. If you guys have any questions, again, please ask them. This class did run a little long when it ran live originally. Now that you're at the end of the video, you can know the secret that that recording was corrupted. It didn't quite work. It only recorded 13 minutes and without any audio. So that's why I had to re-record this solo by myself. Without any live questions, people asking or contributing. This class is a little short, but hopefully that just makes it easier to digest. In the meantime, if you have questions, again, please go ahead and leave them in the comments below this video, or my email was also at the very start of this workshop. You are welcome to email me questions as well. So thank you so much for listening to this video, and enjoy Zoom, embrace the new way to socialize, and have a great rest of your day.